So, good morning again, and good morning again, Mark Rubio. We really appreciate you being here today. We had a first discussion. We will now continue with, of course, the NATO foreign ministers. And the meeting will very much concentrate on a couple of issues also on your mind and the President's mind, which has to do with the defense spending. The good news is the money is now coming in. Defense spending is rapidly ramping up, building on the success of the The Hague summit. Tens of billions, and over the years there's hundreds of billions coming in. That also leads us to the question how to spend it, to make sure that it is spent well. And that brings us to the big issue of the defense industrial base, which is not producing enough. This is a problem in Europe, it is a problem in the US, and this will be a big issue at the Ankara summit. But there are huge opportunities here. We have to produce more to maintain our deterrence and defense, but there are also big in terms of the defense dividend, societal effects here in terms of jobs, new factories opening up, new production lines across the Atlantic, and even more fostering the transatlantic bond. And of course Ukraine will be on the agenda today, making sure that Ukraine stays strong in the fight. And I again want to thank the United States for the fact that the critical flow of US military support to Ukraine in terms of, for example, the interceptors for Patriot systems continues to go, paid for by European and Canadian allies. And it is really vital for Ukraine to stay strong in the fight. Obviously today we have foreign ministers here, so we will discuss foreign issues. And one of the big issues now, of course, is Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, the issue of freedom of navigation. And I hear from many of my colleagues here that it is not acceptable that the freedom of navigation is basically trampled upon as it is at the moment. And we have to think how we collectively can deal with this. And I think everybody acknowledges that the United States degrading the nuclear capability of Iran, but also the long-range missile capability of Iran is crucial for the Middle East, for Europe, for the whole world. So again, Marco, thank you for being here, for your incredible leadership, and being such a staunch supporter of our transatlantic bond.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you to this great country for hosting us. They've been phenomenal hosts. They've been great new members of NATO's, really model allies and great hosts. So it's a pleasure to be here. And it's always great to see you, Mark. And obviously, we're here to set the groundwork for what I think will be probably one of the more important leaders summit in the history of NATO. The President's views, frankly, disappointment at some of our NATO allies and their response to our operations in the Middle East they're well documented. That will have to be addressed. That won't be solved or addressed today. That's something for the leaders level to discuss. In the meantime, there are other areas where we continue with cooperation. You saw the President's announcement last night with regards to Poland and deployment. That said, obviously the United States continues to have global commitments that it needs to meet in terms of our force deployment, and that constantly requires us to re-examine where we put troops. And this is not a punitive thing. It's just something that's ongoing, and it was pre-existing, all these recent reports and tensions and so forth. So that's a process that will continue, that I think in a very positive and productive way, and collaboration with our allies can reach decisions. But in the end, you know, like any alliance, it has to be good for everyone who's involved. It has to be a clear understanding of what the expectations are. And so certainly we'll try to lay the groundwork for that. One of the areas where I think we definitely can cooperate on is the defense industrial base. It is clear to the world, to all of us, in the alliance and beyond, that we simply are not able to produce munitions today at a rate that are necessary for future needs. That's something that has to be addressed. That's something that we can work together on. That's something we want to work together on. I think it's key not just to production, but to interoperability. And so I imagine that'll be a topic of conversation. On the issue of Iran, the news this morning, I know it's early on it's still in the United States, a little later in the region, in the Middle East. But we await word on those conversations that are ongoing. There's been some slight progress. I don't want to exaggerate it, but there's been a little bit of movement, and that's good. The fundamentals remain the same. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. It just cannot. This regime can never have nuclear weapons. And to achieve that, we're going to have to address the issue of enrichment. We're going to have to address the issue of the highly enriched uranium. And then added to this, of course, is the issue of the Straits. Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that. I don't know of a country in the world that's in favor of it except Iran, but there's no country in the world that should accept it. Right now at the United Nations, we have a resolution that is sponsored by Bahrain. We've been very involved with it. It has the highest number of co-sponsors of any resolution ever before the Security Council. Unfortunately, a couple of countries on the Security Council are thinking about vetoing it. That would be lamentable. We are doing everything we can, though, to achieve the sort of global consensus that's necessary to prevent this from happening, and we're trying to use the United Nations. Let's see if the United Nations still works. That's a place that we're going to try to get an outcome for. And obviously, I think almost every country represented here today has signed on as a co-sponsor of that resolution, and if they haven't, I'm sure they soon will, because I don't know of anyone in the world that should be in favor of a tolling system in an international waterway. That's just not acceptable. It can't happen. If that were to happen in the Straits of Hormuz, it will happen in 5 other places around the world. Why would countries all over the world say, well, we want to do this too? Not to mention how vital and critical that strait is to every country represented here today, but frankly to countries not represented here today, particularly the Indo-Pacific. So we'll have a good meeting today. I hope it'll be productive. I expect it will be, and it'll set the groundwork for the leaders to meet in about 6 weeks. And we have a lot of work to do between now and then.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Excellencies, if you could please look for a few seconds straight in front of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Come on, guys, let's go, let's go, let's go. US pull, we're going. Come on, let's move.
Watch out.
That way, that way.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, we did. Yeah, thank you.
No, over. USA.
I'm saying switch the audio back.
Oh, yeah.
Spanien, Turkiet så på insidan.
Good morning.
I took your place. That's a very good place. It's a very good place. That's why we make a new picture.
Grüß dich mal lieber, hallo, 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 schön, dass du da bist. Guten Morgen, hallo.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just waiting for other people to show up.
I didn't shake her hand because you oh, they don't like each other. Hey. There's no difference. If I would make it different, I still would say oh, you say that.
I haven't seen them.
Good morning. Ja, is mooi. Daar zit hij. Je had het Nederlands van je bent. No. Dear colleagues, please take your seat so we can start.
So, good morning. Good morning to this important meeting of NATO foreign ministers. And I indeed again want to thank Sweden for the wonderful hospitality. Also last night with the King and Queen and the Prime Minister, it was a really lovely evening. Also having Andriy Sybiha there to discuss, of course, issues around Ukraine. I think that was very good. So again, Maria, thank you so much for making this possible. We will have an important meeting ahead of us today. We will, of course, discuss the outcome of The Hague, the summit, and how we now move into the Ankara summit, making a success. First of all, when it comes to the spending, and we see all over NATO territory the spending rapidly ramping up. Last year, it's really staggering in Europe, in Canada, equalizing now over time with the United States. But that's not the only reason we spend more. Yes, of course, we do it for that reason, because it is fair, but also because we need the money to make us capable of defending NATO territory. And it is deeply rooted, as you know, in the capability targets. But this money only makes sense not only when we have the men and women in uniform, of course they are key, but also for them to have their hands on the defense industrial output. And that is a big issue all over NATO territory. So that will be a big issue in Ankara, but also an opportunity. Because when we speak sometimes about the defense dividend, the jobs, the extra production capacity coming online to defend ourselves, there is also, of course, an economic element in the US, in Canada, in Europe, and we see more and more companies working across the Atlantic. And then third, Ukraine. Making sure that we do everything to keep Ukraine as strong as possible in the fight. Of course, there are developments. The whole situation with Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, the freedom of navigation at this moment basically seriously being under threat. There is an issue we will no doubt also touch upon today. I know many of us are very worried about the situation, and I know that many countries have already pre-positioned very important military equipment close to theater, so to see how we collectively can help in the next phase. And so all of that will be no doubt today being discussed. Hey, again, thank you for organizing this, all of you for being here, and now for the media, please leave the room. Oh no, sorry. First, we will listen to the Foreign Minister of Sweden. Excuse me. And then, the media, you can stay for another few minutes. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mark, and dear colleagues. I'm honored to welcome you all here to the southern part of Sweden and to my home region and to Helsingborg. And I'm proud to host the very first NATO ministerial meeting only 2 years after we joined. We are currently at the narrowest point of the Øresund Strait, one of the world's busiest international waterways in the midst of the dynamic Øresund region, connecting Sweden not only to Denmark but also to the greater continent. The strait is a maritime gateway to the Baltic Sea region, the very same region which is one of the geostrategic bases for Sweden's role and engagement in the alliance. With our membership, the security map of this part of Europe has been redrawn, allowing an increase of NATO's operational depth and tying the North Atlantic and the Baltic regions more closely together. Russia continues to threaten the security in the whole Euro-Atlantic area and test our readiness. Right here along the coastline, vessels from Russia's shadow fleet pass almost on a daily basis, financing Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. It underlines the importance of NATO's policy to constrain, counter, and contest Russia. Dear colleagues, today's meeting is an important milestone on the road to the NATO summit in Ankara. The focus of the discussion will be how we together can deliver on the key priorities ahead of the summit, and our priorities are threefold. Demonstrating progress on the Hague Defence Investment Plan in order to enhance deterrence and defence, increasing defence production, and ensuring stronger and more sustainable support to Ukraine. These are all key points for the unity and the resolve of the alliance. I will come back to Sweden's contributions later, but I want to thank you, Secretary General, for steering us through today's discussion, and I very much look forward to our exchanges. Thank you.
And with that, we conclude the public part of our meeting.